Well, good day, everybody, and welcome to the program. It is Countywide. Brad Miller with you. Happy to have you along on this program. It's going to be another good one. We'll talk to some folks putting together a new organization in our community that you will be very pleased to hear about, that it's in our community. We're also going to tell you how you might be able to help out as they get this up and running. First, I want to apologize about the sunglasses today. Left my other glasses at home, so those of you joining us on VerdeValleyTV.com or on Channel 2, not trying to look cool, just made a mistake in the wardrobe today. Debby Dobson is here, and Debby has helped us with some other programs, all of them having to do with dogs. Debby, I think we can say you're a dog lover.
That is true, Brad, absolutely.
And that's part of why you're here today. Marta Adelsman is here with us as well. She's a board member for CareDogs, and CARE is an acronym, Canine Advocates for Rehabilitation, and that is what the ladies are putting together, are in the form of processing, and today we'll tell you what it is and how you might be able to help out. So a good day to you, Marta.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good to have you come in and talk to us. Let's start right at the beginning when I say CareDogs and CareDogs.org for folks that want to take a look online. CareDogs is, Debby?
CARE is Canine Advocates for Rehabilitation and Education, and the way I describe it is that it's an experiential animal-assisted therapy program. And how it got started, Brad, was I was working with at-risk teens as a counselor, and I had one client in particular who just wasn't talking to me. And I remember on about our third appointment, I drove to her house to pick her up, and I was driving in my little car thinking, what am I going to do with this kid? And all of a sudden, I just had the inspiration to take her to the animal shelter. And at that time in Clarkdale, there was a no-kill animal shelter. So we drove over there, and we walked through the length of the building, and at the very end of the building, there was a huge high-ceilinged room with cats. And as we walked into that room, this girl completely changed. She calmed down, she smiled, she laughed, she was absolutely delighted to be there. In fact, I had to convince her not to take 3 or 4 cats home with her. Yeah. So I thought, well, if it worked that well with her, why don't I try bringing some of the other kids to the shelter? Which I did, and I noticed that what happened was the work that we did together was accelerated. And we were talking about difficult subjects. I mean, we were talking about things like sexual abuse. We were talking about things like teenage pregnancy, drug use, you know, school attendance, things like this. And I found that it seemed to take less time to connect with these kids and work through some of these difficult topics when we went to the animal shelter on a regular basis.
Those of us who have four-legged friends in our homes won't be surprised to hear how they can change a perspective or open someone up maybe. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot of science behind this as well. In fact, even on this program, we've had folks who've come in, a dog that does hospice work and physical therapies and different kinds of things like that. And I think for some time now we've had where we see animals working with elderly folks. Mm-hmm. Is this the same kind of structure in that the animal becomes a catalyst for change or improvement?
Yes, absolutely. My theory was that because I was exposing these kids to the animals, that something positive was happening. But when I started to do some research about developing a program to bring kids and dogs together, what I discovered was that there wasn't a whole lot of hard research in the form of formal studies. I do have a little bit of information here that shows that there is a positive outcome when kids and dogs are brought together. So one of the things I did in this program was to develop a formal study that would track the kids for at least 1 year after they graduated from the program to measure the outcomes. And we can easily measure things like school attendance. Right. Is there any positive change in their grades? But I want to also measure, is their level of compassion going up? Are they able to manage their anger better? Do they have more patience? These are more subtle things, but I would like to see empirical data collected, right, because I couldn't find any There are a lot of great anecdotal stories about,
Right.
you know, heartwarming things that happen between kids and dogs, but that's one of the components of the CARE program is a formal study to measure that.
Those kind of core issues, the things that are going to make a person, you know, a young person, a productive adult.
Yes.
That are going to kind of carry us through how we work with others and those kinds of things.
Absolutely.
It's kind of interesting, kind of the social structure of the way dogs work. I can't help but kind of draw, you know, a parallel that when we get the teen and the dog together, who's the leader, and you know what I'm saying? Because they're leading each other into maybe into a new light.
Absolutely. One of the things we're going to be talking about, before the kids will actually be paired up with their dogs, we'll have a week of sort of cognitive information. And what we'll cover in that week before the kids meet the dogs is canine safety issues. We're going to be covering some of the things about the history of dogs, why people worked with dogs, what the dogs did. The long history that humans and dogs have shared together over the centuries. And we are also going to be talking about leadership, because you're absolutely right. One of the things that the kids will need to be aware of as they're working with the dogs is being what I think of as a compassionate leader. If you look at dog training books, even as little as 30 or 40 years ago, there wasn't too much compassion. It was all about, you know, scaring the dog and coercing the dog. But today we look at dogs differently than thank goodness we do.
Sure.
So we'll be talking about the qualities of a good leader, and we're going to be talking about, say, the difference in leadership style between Adolf Hitler and Mahatma Gandhi. They both accomplished a lot. They left their marks on history, but look at the difference in their style and look at the difference in what they accomplished.
The outcome, yeah, dramatically
Absolutely different.
And an interesting perspective. I want to come back to you in a minute, Debbie, and I want to ask where everybody comes from. How do you identify the teens that might need help and might benefit from this program, and the dogs? Where do they come from? But I want to ask Dr. Adelsman and Marta, you got involved. You're a board member, and this is a fledgling organization. And I'm guessing you don't just jump into anything that's out there, but something about this program and what Debbie's trying to do obviously struck a nerve with you.
Yeah, well, my background, I have a doctorate in psychology, and while I haven't focused on working with adolescents, I have had, you know, several adolescents that I've had in my practice. And so I have a heart for, you know, people getting healthy.
Sure.
And having healthy relationships and a positive way of living their lives. And I also love dogs.
Yeah.
You know, I have a rescue dog myself. And when Debbie told me about this organization, it was like, whoa, what a great idea.
It struck me the same as well. When we were setting up the show, Debbie and I kind of calling and emailing back and forth to kind of get the program up and going. I was a little, I'll be honest, a little bit nervous because you're just getting it rolling. And that there's not a lot of science behind this yet, which surprised me as well as you indicated it did to you. But it just seems like, well, you put troubled teens and dogs together, you're probably going to end up with a pretty good outcome. It just makes sense. Folks who know maybe some troubled teens and folks who know dogs. And so it seems like a winning probability. We do need to take a break. So when we come back, let's talk a little more about how we get all of these folks together, the youngsters and the puppies and dogs and whatnot that are so integral to this approach in treating young people, helping them out when they've had some trouble. Canine Advocates for Rehabilitation, Debbie Dobson and Dr. Marta Adelsman, our guest today. Countywide's back right after this.